G'day everybody, my name is Lowell and welcome to the channel. So we have an interesting reaction video. This is going to be the Goodyear Blimp flying the gentle giant that needs 24-hour care. Now, I always say Australia don't have blimps. Now, apparently we don't now, but apparently we had one until 2017. I didn't even know that. Didn't even know it. Never seen it before in my life. Apparently we had one. Never seen it. But anyway, let's jump into this one. We all recognize this one, surely.
What's the aircraft that needs 24-hour care and a whole ground crew team with a 32-ton truck to go flying?
Wow, look how
the answer is the Goodyear Blimp. Ride along.
I didn't realize it was, I mean, I know it's big, but that's massive.
With us as Flyer takes a flight over EAA AirVenture Oshkosh and discover what it takes to fly the Goodyear Blimp.
How many blimps
1925 marks 100 years of blimp operation by Goodyear, and to celebrate they brought 2 of their 3 blimps to EAA AirVenture Oshkosh.
Well, they only have 3 apparently. Okay.
It's a really rare thing to see 2 blimps flying together, and it was definitely one of those only at Oshkosh moments. And yes, before we go any further, all those experts out there saying, it's not a blimp, it's a semi-rigid dirigible. Yes, you're absolutely right. Goodyear partnered with Zeppelin Luftschiff Technik to produce the fleet of 3 modern Zeppelin NTs they now operate. But let's get real here. Goodyear's name has been synonymous with non-rigid blimps from 1925 until they retired their last one in 2017. And the name is stuck, so don't mind us if we honour that and stick with blimp from now on.
Yep.
Inside the blimp's 246-foot long envelope, there's a carbon fibre framework and ballonets. That's 4.5 bags that can be inflated with air to compensate for the changing pressure of the helium and to manage pitch. It takes 300,000 cubic feet of helium to fill. That's about 2.2 million gallons. A composite 14-seat gondola hangs underneath the envelope and has seats for 12 passengers and 2 crew. The blimp weighs more than 19,000 pounds empty, but fill it up with helium and you've got yourself one giant-size lighter-than-air aircraft. Power is from 3 200-horsepower Lycoming IO360 engines, which are connected to gearboxes that turn 4 9-foot 3-blade composite propellers at about half the RPM of the engines. A pair of engines, one on each side of the envelope, provides most of the forward thrust, and each propeller can be tilted upwards through 120 degrees. The aft propeller can be tilted down 90 degrees to help raise or lower the nose, and there's also a belt-driven propeller mounted 90 degrees to the centerline that helps control yaw. The blimp is nearly completely electrically operated. It has dual fly-by-wire control systems, with the pilot controlling rudder and elevators through a side stick. The instrument panel has dual Garmin G500.
Wow, I didn't think it was going to be well, I guess it is a modern aircraft, but dang. Okay.
As well as additional screens that show the positions of the flight controls and the propellers, plus the status of various blimp systems. For ground ops and takeoff and landing, the blimp relies on an extensive ground crew, plus a huge 32-ton, 8-wheeled, custom-built Mack truck that has 4 extendable outrigger arms for stability. As for blimp parking, it needs an open area that's 600 feet in diameter around the truck, because when the wind blows, the blimp likes to rotate freely. Before a flight, ground crew members can add or remove bags of ballast to get the blimp to the correct weight for takeoff and landing. If necessary, the pilot can release water ballast that's stored beneath the gondola in flight to help reduce the landing weight.
That's a lot of ballast, but I guess you don't know. You have to be kind of prepared for everything, you know, what's going to happen. I don't know if on a blimp, I don't know.
Passengers are loaded carefully, particularly if there's some to unload and new ones to board. 2 on, 2 off helps keep things balanced. And yes, as it's a commercial aircraft, the blimp has its own safety card. So fasten your seatbelt and let's go flying. With the blimp's engines running and the pre-takeoff checklist complete, it's time to depart. The ground crew back the mast truck away, while the blimp also backs up with reverse engine thrust. To take off, the pilot lifts the yellow levers on either side of the throttles for the forward engines to swivel the propellers up 90 degrees. as well as moving the aft propeller position control to the takeoff land position, causing it to move 90 degrees down. They also moved the aft thrust lever to the takeoff setting. Then they add power via the main engine throttles and move the side stick aft.
Sounds a little creaky.
The blimp levitates just like a helicopter, but the difference is flying on the blimp feels incredibly gentle, and it's quite unlike any flying sensation the average pilot will have experienced before.
Okay.
Climbing out, the pilot then rotates the main propellers slightly forwards to change the thrust vector, and as the blimp reaches 20 knots, the aft propeller is rotated to the flight position, pushing the blimp forwards. Once the propellers on the sides rotate into the level position, the blimp behaves a bit like a fixed-wing aircraft, with the pilot using the side stick as the primary control. The blimp pilots describe the experience as more like sailing a big ship than flying an aircraft. As for controlling the blimp, the trick is to anticipate the movement of the nose and to reverse the input in time to stop the turn, but to then quickly allow the stick to recenter so the airship doesn't start a turn the other way. In flight, the blimp cabin is quiet and smooth, and as we cruised around the AirVenture grounds, you could easily hear the sounds of other aircraft taking off and landing on the runways below. If you want to hover your Goodyear blimp, simply slow down and tilt the main propellers up 90 degrees and move the aft propeller down 90 degrees. 6 to 8 hour cross-country trips are typical for the Goodyear blimps, but with 302 gallons of avgas on board, you can have 24 hours endurance by running the aft engine at reduced thrust. If the thought of 24 hours airborne is making you think of crossing your legs, don't worry, as there's the blimp bathroom in the rear of the gondola, and it offers the occupant an amazing view.
Wow. Okay. There's a cup in there.
The blimp will cruise as fast as 55 knots, but the pilots say it's easier to fly at around 40 to 45 knots. Typical cruise is 30 knots. Don't forget, you're flying a giant billboard though, so getting seen is more important than getting somewhere. As we flew around Oshkosh, 20 to 25 knots was typical. On the subject of being a billboard, one side of the blimp is covered with a huge LED screen that can show video and display messages. This is controlled by the pilots via a screen on the instrument panel. For landing, the pilot lines up into wind and flies the blimp down onto the surface, using the yellow levers to vary the angle of the side engines and the side stick to control the blimp's direction. Nothing happens fast in a blimp, but just like all good landings, a gentle, stabilized approach with small adjustments is the key to success. And the blimp might be the only aircraft where landing on the nose wheel is a good thing. You still need to do it gently though. If it's time to stop, the ground crew capture the blimp's nose mooring rope and connect it to the mast mooring rope before winching the blimp in to dock with the top of the mast. If it's just landing for a running passenger change, then the ground crew will attach boarding stairs, but that needs care as the untethered blimp does like to move around in the wind.
God, you can see it moving. I mean, how strong is the bladder and everything? I don't know. I just remember the Hindenburg and it's just like, yikes.
The aft engine is used to hold the tail up until lowering it smoothly to the ground, when the gondola will rest on both its nose wheel and its tail wheel. Safely captured, the blimp is secure and the flight crew can shut the blimp down.
Dang.
But don't forget, this gentle giant never rests and needs round-the-clock care whether it's inside the hangar or out to make sure it remains properly balanced until the next time to fly. Helium changes temperature really quickly and expands or shrinks when it does. The ballonets inside the envelope inflate and deflate to compensate because you don't want a bloated blimp. It can cause the helium to be vented into the atmosphere, and that's really expensive. But you can forgive the brilliant blimp for being needy when it comes to care, because it offers such an incredibly unusual way to fly. Thank you, Goodyear, for sharing it with us, and congratulations on your 100th anniversary.
that was a very interesting video. You know, I never really thought about what it takes to fly a blimp. You know, you just see it. Obviously, with us watching American football and everything, you know, you see it a little bit more. As I said, apparently Australia had one. I've never seen it in Australia, but apparently it's here somewhere. Up until 2017, I should say. But that was very interesting on the inside. I guess it is a modern aircraft. It should have all the bells and whistles that everybody has. But it's that, you know, looking after the helium, as it said, with the different temperatures and everything else, it's a case of trying to find that right balance. You know, even taking off ballast, maybe that water ballast as well. There's obviously a lot of things to actually make it sturdy. You know, I guess it would be like trying to pilot a big ship. You know, like from the 1600s or something, trying to get that balance on the water. In this case, obviously balance in the air, where it's a comfortable ride for everybody, and the aircraft is safe as well. That's very interesting. Very, very interesting. And then obviously, you know, you're looking at the skin of the aircraft all the time. Every time it comes back from a flight, making sure there's no holes, etc., etc. So, I don't know. It would be an interesting experience to go out in the blimp. I don't know. I would always have that. You know, we all seen that Hindenburg and everything else. I'm assuming it's much safer than that now. So, materials and everything they use. So, but it's hard to kind of get that out of your brain. You know, it's hard not to picture that. So, very, very interesting video. Let me know if you enjoyed that. Let me know in the comment section, guys. Thank you very much for joining me today. Make sure you stay safe, and I will definitely see you in the next reaction video. Oh, you're still here? You want more content? Why don't you check out my Patreon down here? You'll get plenty more content and some exclusive videos over there too. If not, why not check out this one over here?